The Garrett ATX, it's a great machine for all kinds of hunting, including water hunting and hunting at the beach. But one thing, no matter where you go, whether you're relic hunting in the woods, or you're gold prospecting, or you're at the beach or the lake or wherever, is you don't want to collapse this thing and put it away dirty. So this little video, we'll just do a couple of quick pointers here of just what to do with it. As you can see, I've been hunting with it. It's pretty well fouled up. I've got sand and dirt all over it. There's a few different ways to go about cleaning it, but for starters, if you have nothing else, at the very minimum, wash it in the body of water you're hunting in. So start with that. I'm going to put this in the lake and rinse it off real good first. Now, if this was salt water, of course, there'd be residue, and you'd have the salt that would dry in there, but it's a step better than nothing to at least get the sand and the grit out of it. Fresh water, it's going to be a little bit better for it. I'd literally just get the ATX in there, wipe it down, get as much of the sand and the grit and the dirt off of there as you can. It's waterproof, you're not going to hurt it. And then loosen up the cam locks. Loosen all these up. You don't want them to be tightened up and for this thing to dry in the locked position. So I've got all three of them loose. And what I'm going to do is just try to work these cams around a little bit under the water. Just kind of twist this, rotate it back and forth. Try to get any sand or grit or dirt out of there that might be trapped in it. And just check it out, extend it. Make sure I don't have a bunch of sand being left up in there. And then when I'm done, if I have time and I'm not leaving right away, I would just set the machine out and let it dry. Let it sit in the sun, dry as best you can. Or if you got a towel, wipe it down. But don't just collapse it up and tighten the cam locks and have it wet, because that's going to dry and potentially sand and grit. So I'll just take this back. If I've got a vehicle or I've got a towel or something, again, wipe it down, dry it as best I can, or set it out in the sun for a while. Okay, so we showed if that's all you have, go ahead and use the body of water that you've been hunting in to rinse out the cams and get the shafts totally cleaned up before you collapse this ATX. But if you've got the luxury, definitely use running water. If you're at a park or at the beach or somewhere where you can find water like this, I'm going to just run this water under here and get all this sand and grit off the cams and the shafts that I can see. And I'm going to loosen up these cams and just rotate those around. Make sure I don't feel any grit in there, any kind of grime that's going to get collapsed in there. I'm going to work these out back and forth. This one looks clean. Keep working them around. Get that water, if I can spray it down inside there. Just flush anything out of there that you can, because the last thing you want to do is collapse this thing with sand and grit in there. It's just going to make it that much more difficult to open up next time. If I don't have time to let my ATX dry out completely, what I want to do is clean it off, wipe it down with a rag, and dry it before I collapse these shafts. You don't want to take it and collapse it with the shafts full of water like this. So I'd bring a towel along, a rag or something like that in your backpack or in your hiking and hunting bag. That way, make sure it's clean and dry before you collapse it, because any water that gets up in here and dries up, it's not going to do any favors. So now I've got it cleaned and dried. Then I could stow it, take off and go to my next destination. If I had the luxury of not being in a hurry to go somewhere, I would just extend the detector fully out and set it on a tabletop, a picnic table, or even top of my car or something like that where it's secure. Let it sit in the sun for 10 or 15 minutes and really dry it out. But if you don't have that luxury, just dry it down before you collapse it. And again, leave these cam locks loose. That'll make it a whole lot easier next time you get the machine out. Just a few little tips that'll hopefully make life a little bit easier with your new ATX.